Hello, folks. I'm Nick Bernardo, your host of MyGovWatch Live, the B2G Roundtable. If you're east of the Rocky Mountains here in the US, good afternoon. Good morning to those out west, and hello to anyone joining us from the far corners of the earth or watching online in the future. Today's Wednesday, January 21st, 2026. This series is brought to you by MyGovWatch. With a curated white glove approach, MyGovWatch delivers leads in more than 200 industries at double the rate of free government tools and at a fraction of the cost of legacy websites. Big government contracts do not start with a solicitation, but all roads lead to one, and your budget for hearing about RFPs does not have to be thousands of dollars per year. Start your 14-day free trial today. Well, folks, here we are in the throes of winter, and I think I will just say this. I'll just kind of say it out loud. It's a real one this year, especially if you live in the northeast part of the U.S. and this is where we're based. That's where we're located. We had a little bit of a false winter the last couple of years, but those days are over. We are firmly in the throes of a real winter. So anytime people jump on MyGovWatch Live, I always like to start with this. I just tell you that, this is an audience-driven event. In other words, we're going to talk about government contracting. I'm going to answer questions that you might have about how to grow in government contracting. But it's not a monologue. It's intended to be an informal dialogue, right? Where the audience, you specifically, if you're about to hit that raise your hand button, now is the time. Because what I like to do on these sessions is provide an opportunity for just some casual interaction, some casual back and forth, where I help people figure out what to do with government contracts simply by answering questions that people have. Now, sometimes we'll start off with something, if there's something topical, I'll start off with a little bit of background information on some numbers that we pulled recently. We're starting off fresh with the new year. We have Arco. Looks like Arco wants to raise his hand and ask some questions. And I just warn you, I always start with something that is not necessarily related to the topic at hand. And so let me bring Arco on as a panelist. So if you do come on with a question, I should tell you this. When you go to mygovwatch.com, the site advertises a 2-week free trial. So anyone who asks a question with audio and video live on MyGovWatch Live, that 2-week trial becomes a 4-week or 30-day free trial of the website just for participating with a question and sharing your audio and video on the site. So we do need both. So I see Jeffrey, you've come in as well. Jeffrey, we're going to come to you next. But Arco, we just need your audio and video if you would like to ask a question.
Hey, hi, how are you doing today?
Yes, is this Arco?
This is Susil. Actually, Arco is occupied in some other meet, so he's requested me to join here to
Well, thank
understand how
you.
the entire flow goes. Yeah.
Thank you for joining MyGovWatch Live. What do you do and where are you joining us from?
So I'm joining from India, and as far as what we do goes, so we are one of the largest edtech provider based out of Texas, Frisco. The company name is Upgrade Knowledge Set, and we provide a lot of courses, trainings, one-on-one trainings, and also
Trainings and
federal
online
trainings as well.
courses. You're saying training and
That's true.
online courses. Yes. Okay, good. Keep
That's true. Yeah. So we just wanted to expand our business, how we kind of serve federal agencies out there. For that, we wanted to kind of catch up with you to understand like if we can collaborate and expand the offerings of Upgrade Knowledge Set.
Yeah, so you're looking to know like what kinds of opportunities are there around online training and e-learning on the website. Is that
Uh,
right?
Correct. As far as the kind of RFQs goes, then federal contracts goes. So that is something which we are looking at.
Okay, so the question is how many or how often does it come up on mygovwatch.com that government agencies are interested in e-learning or online training solutions? And I
That's
just have,
true.
and this is an open offer to anyone on the session right now. If you want me to search on something, I can do a 1-year look back right now on any topic that people would like me to search on. So if you're just sort of casually wondering if your widget is something that the government buys, I can do a quick lookup. And so I'm going to share my screen real quick. So let me do that.
Okay.
And let's just see, are you able to, okay, let's see. Are you looking at email or are you looking at a browser? Let's pause that share.
Yeah, it's a browser.
Yeah, let's make sure I'm sharing the right thing first off.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, share this. Nope, that's not right. Let's get to the right thing here. Let's try screen two. Okay. Now, are you looking at a list of results?
Yeah, it's a browser-based list of results. So yeah,
Okay, and you see me scrolling, yes?
that's true.
Okay, so I'm just going to zoom in a little bit. And I know that you were interested in online training. So as we were sort of talking about it, I just put in some search terms and I
Okay.
put in training,
You
and
please
I
go
put
ahead.
some of these keywords around it. And I know we were trading emails before the session around project
Yeah.
management, governance, security, artificial intelligence, and cybersecurity. So when we do a 1 year look back on that topic,
Okay.
we get 182 results, or about 15 per month looking back over the last year. And so here's agentic AI, project awareness, advanced cyber industry training. So here are just some examples: cybersecurity training, National Training Center project. So there's lots of training examples, about 15 per month. And so I just want to stop there and turn the share off and see what questions you might have around government contracting based on some of those results.
Understood. So yeah, this is something which we are looking out for. So just wanted to understand like what's the frequency that is available, one, as far as the number of contracts goes, that you clarified it is 15 to 20 month on month. And also we wanted to check the volumes, like how many basically federal contracts would be there, then how many like provincial RFQs would be there. So do you have some data on that?
So yeah, I'm just going to do this in the background, and I don't need to share for this. Out of
Mhm.
the 15 per month on the previous result, let's just do this now. Get out my calculator.
Okay.
So about 4 out of the 15 from the result set that I just shared with you are federal. So 4 out of 15. And so that means about 11 or 12 per month would be at the state or local level.
Okay. And what would be the value of those contracts? Like, let's say if we'll have to kind of figure out the maximum minimum value out there or average value for that matter, what that would be.
Yeah, and so let me answer that question a different way. So our site is
Mhm.
primarily providing you with the lead, right? So we're
Okay.
announcing RFQs, RFPs, and tenders to you. You're bidding on
Understood.
those. And then on the back end, we have an add-on tool that's called OpenRecs Access. And what that tool does is it allows us to obtain the results of the bid process. So if you bid
Okay.
on something, or even if you didn't bid on it, we can get the
Mhm.
results, and the results will include the value of the contract, including the pricing, oftentimes the pricing of each vendor that submitted an offer. So not only can you find out the value of the contract through an open recs
Okay.
order, you can find out what did all the bidders offer in terms of pricing. Now that's not available before the bid, that's only available after the bids are
After the
submitted.
bid.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Got it.
But great
So,
questions. Yeah.
yeah. So one more question I have, an extended question only. So just wanted to check, like, let's say we have received a RFQ. Okay, you'll be having some 10 folks bidding for that through you. So are you gonna help people bid, like how to respond to those RFQs out there, how to kind of interact, and if we are not receiving any response from the ABC body, then you're gonna contact on our behalf. So what are the additional services that you're gonna do?
Okay, yeah. So good question. MyGovWatch is a data aggregation tool that provides you with leads, and then you are bidding on the RFP. In other words, we're not acting on your behalf. You're completing the proposal submission, you're submitting your proposal submission, and then optionally, we can get the results for you after the fact, after bids are awarded. But we're not writing your proposal or anything like that. I can tell you, just between us girls, we are working on some things involving artificial intelligence to help people more efficiently put proposal responses together. But that's in the very early stages. There are other tools like that that are out there in the market today. But we are also working on something like that because we know there's a need for that.
Understood. And also, you must be having some sort of subscription model here, right? To purchase MyGovWatch or something of that sort. So can you please highlight on that as well?
Sure. And by the way, folks, I appreciate this young man's questions. Generally, the webinars are not as promotional. We try to answer questions generally about government contracts, but I'll just share this. So our pricing is right on the homepage of the website. It's $59.99 per month for a regional account. That's up to 6 states. Nationally, it just went up to $99.99 per month. That's all 50 U.S. states and territories of the U.S. So thank you for that question. So I would like to
No
encourage
worries.
you to stay on the line. And what you can do is you could turn off your video, stay on mute, but stay as a panelist, because then what you would be able to do is if someone else asks a question, you can
Yeah.
jump back in and ask a follow-up question. So would you like to stay with us?
Yeah. So,
All right, perfect. Jeff, I'm going to bring you on now. Let's do that. And then Christian, I see you have your hand raised as well. We will bring you on shortly after we speak with Jeff. Okay, Jeff, you should be getting a prompt that we're inviting you to join as a panelist. And here comes Jeffrey.
Here we
Jeffrey,
go.
do you prefer Jeffrey or Jeff?
Jeff is fine.
All right, Jeff. Welcome to MyGovWatch Live. And I should have asked the other young man this question. Let me ask you: do you enjoy winter? And if so, what is one thing about winter you like? I can see you're wearing a coat, and I see the Yankees cap, so you're probably not far from where we're at geographically. Do you like winter, and what about it do you like?
First of all, I live part-time in New York, part-time in California. And amazingly enough, I'm in California now. It's just Santa Cruz, California is not as cold as New York, but when you get used to the West Coast, even 50 degrees feels a little cool.
I am recalling a February. I was in Miami with my wife, and we were in shorts, and all the locals were wearing jeans and jackets.
Yep, exactly. That's
So,
exactly right.
so
Well,
Jeff, what do you do, and what brings you to us today?
yeah, I we our company is a market research company. We do a tremendous amount of work globally, but I launched the US in 2017. And we have technology that eight of the top largest market research companies use our technology. We're able to pre-test digital ads in the live environment where people don't know what's being tested. And the more realistic the environment, the better your insights are going to be. We measure behavior. Um, we have really amazing technology. Um, Companies like Coca-Cola, Procter& and Gamble, Hershey's, Mars, Colgate, they all use our technology to pre-test ads. So we thought, why don't we see about the government? And I'm sure that they're spending money on digitally. So we do a lot of it's two we do a lot of other things, but the main thing that makes us unique is our technology for testing both digital ads anywhere. We originally started on social media because that's where all the money was being spent, and now we can do it pretty much anywhere in the world. And we also do it on e-commerce too. If the government is looking about seeing if some, you know, whether it's a package, whether it's how they have it laid out on a website. Um, and I don't even know if this is the right. We already signed up for the 99 for the 99 a month. And
Thank you for that, by the way, Jeff. I know we haven't spoken before. I think we haven't spoken before,
no,
but when did you sign up?
um, maybe 2 weeks ago, maybe
Okay.
1 or 2 weeks
Okay. So
ago,
you're
and
in the early stages of it. Okay.
very very early because I'm getting emails and I'm not even sure what the heck to do with it. Um, so I really I thought I was going to be able to get a one-on-one with somebody to help kind of walk me through how to use this because
And that will happen, Jeff. If that's something that you need, that's certainly something
yeah,
that you do.
yeah,
Yeah.
it will. I definitely need it because what I want to do is maximize my time on this, not just spend every day, all day on it, because I don't have
Okay.
time
All
to
right.
do that.
All right. So I'm sort of like piecing together what you're saying, and I could just sort of start talking. Or do you have a specific question? And then after I answer that, I can just sort of say some things based on what you're saying.
Um, the specific question is really, is this platform with all of these um, requests for business help or whatever, there's a lot of different things I see. Are there locations, are there government agencies that are looking to optimize their digital footprint, whether it's with digital ads or on their website? Those are things that we do at a very high tech level.
Great question, Jeff. And I appreciate that question. While you were talking, I went back to the search console that I shared earlier, and I just put in 4 terms. I put in marketing, I put in SEO, I put in digital advertising, and I put in digital marketing. And I got over 800 results, or over 68 per month from the last year. Okay. So,
Okay.
yes, they're definitely buying what you sell. Now, it sounds like what you're selling is emergent ad tech. Would you agree with me?
Definitely.
Okay. So, if it's emergent ad tech, there are 2 possible use cases of a website like ours to make hay with that and to win new business. Either they will be directly asking for ad placements, in which case, can you provide ad placement services, traditional ad placement services?
No, no, that's not what we do.
So
Let me
you're
let me
evaluating.
yeah, let me I'll give you, we just did a presentation with Colgate. They had 6 different ads on this new toothbrush where you only buy the head. You keep the toothbrush and just buy new heads. So they wanted to understand which ad works. They tested on YouTube, um, Instagram, and Meta. And they wanted to understand which ad, because what we measure how much time they spent on the ad. Did they interact with it? Did they turn the sound on Meta? Did they mute it on YouTube? Any interaction at all? And then if it's a CPG client, if it's a product, when they get done searching, see we work with panel companies all over the world, so they decide we'll make it easier because with toothbrushes, it kind of everyone has teeth, so it kind of everyone qualifies for potentially getting that toothbrush. If it was like Hershey's or Mars, people who eat chocolate. So the surveys go sent out to them, and they say, "Here's your survey. We're going to take you to YouTube. Look at it as for next 2 minutes as you normally would." So they don't know what's being tested. That's the beauty of this, and it's live environment. We pull all the live content. Then when they're done, just scrolling and doing what they normally do, we'll take them to Amazon, Target, Walmart, or 60 different e-commerce sites we've already built. Have them type in the toothbrush, for example, and then the search results page comes down. Well, we control that whole environment. So in usually a third or fourth position, we put the product that they were exposed to an ad to. And we tell them put something in the cart. So now Colgate can find out which ad actually delivers more sales on which platform.
That is fantastic. And as you're talking, I can give you a much better answer now that you've given me just a little bit more color. So I'm looking at a result on my screen here. There's a bid due for the city of Moline, Illinois in 2 days. The city of Moline is seeking proposals from qualified marketing creative agencies to support the economic development activities of the city of Moline. So they could be doing a number of things there. So my
Right.
answer to you is this, Jeff. You will primarily be using our platform if you choose to continue with your subscription, not necessarily to pitch to the government agencies, but to pitch to the vendors who are winning these contracts.
Okay.
So you could be a subcontractor.
Yeah.
I would say
Great.
it this way. It's likely that you could become a prime contractor. In other words, as what you do becomes more and more common, they might have individual purchases just for what you do. But
Right.
because it's on the cutting edge of ad tech and because it's leading edge, I think it's more likely that you would be using our site to identify who's winning these contracts and then forming relationships with them by identifying them through our site so that you can pitch your services as a feature of their offering. So if the city of Moline has 6 bidders, guess what? You can be proposed as a sub for all 6 bids.
That's I like that.
Yeah.
I think not right now because we got a whole group here, but it'd be nice to set up just a one-on-one 15, 20 minutes, kind of walk through the process for that. I don't want to do it right now because you got a lot of other people on the call, but it'd be nice to be able to just get that process down. When I launched the US for the company in 2017, I only worked with market research companies because I didn't want to hire a lot of people. And two, they work with hundreds, Kantar, Nielsen, Ipsos. They work with many hundreds of clients, and I'd rather just work with them and let them work with the clients. So this is a similar setup, which I like better.
Yeah, it's a very different dynamic. And by the way, Jeff, we don't necessarily have to delve too much into your use case, but if you want to continue to talk about like general questions about prime subcontractor relationships in government contracting, stay on as a panelist, right? We have Christian coming up, we have Brent coming up after Christian. But if you want to stay on as a panelist, you might think of a question based on someone else's question, and it doesn't have to be in the weeds on your use case. It's just like conceptual around subcontracting in government contracts. So can you think of any immediate follow-up questions, or do you just want to stay on as a panelist for now?
I'll stay on right now. Yeah.
Yeah, and feel free to go on mute off camera for now, but if you want to come back in with a question, just go ahead and do it. If I see you come back on camera, I know you have something to add or ask at that point.
Perfect.
All right. Thank you for your question, Jeff. All right. So, Christian, let's bring you on as a panelist. You should see a prompt starting now. And then, Brent, we have you right after Christian. And then anyone else, yes, please raise your hand because there's a little bit of a queue going here. So now is the best time to raise your hand so that we have you in line after the next couple of people who are coming up. Christian, welcome to MyGovWatch Live. Where are you joining us from?
We're actually in New Jersey.
All right. Well, that makes 2 of us. So I know what the weather's like. Do you like winter? And if so, what do you like about it?
I actually don't like winter.
So what are you doing in New Jersey?
I mean, listen, I'm originally from New York and then just moved to Jersey, and this is what we need to like kind of deal with in order for us to have all 4 seasons, right? Like the summer and the fall, which is my favorite. But it is what it is. We're used to it already.
Well, welcome to MyGovWatch Live. What do you do and who do you do it for?
So I'm the corporate production manager for the name of the company is called Eclipse Events. And what we do is we do AV support. We do, all the production for corporate events, right? It doesn't have to be only audio and visual. We also do decor and entertainment. So, I'm actually in charge of like the corporate division of the company because we do have a social where we provide live entertainment, DJs and stuff like that. But I'm trying to find more leads per se for corporate events where we can provide, again, our services like the AV services that I just mentioned. I want to learn more about it. The one question that I had was, and this whole thing is new to me, of course, but the one question I had was, when you get a lead, are you able to connect with the client directly to have a conversation about the event? Because the one thing that I notice when I meet with clients, sometimes they don't know what they want. They're like, oh, we're having a conference and we need a microphone and speakers and a TV, but they don't understand that there's all the things that they need or they might need, right? And when I bring it up and they're like, oh no, you're right. Oh yeah, we do need this. Oh, we do need that. So is it something that you're able to talk to them before, or once you get the lead, you submit your bid, and then hopefully they get back to you?
Yeah, great question. So here's what I would tell you as it relates to things that you'll find on mygovwatch.com. So these will be solicitations where there's an announcement that somebody's buying something, right? Products or services or both. And let's just say the title is New Brunswick Summer Concert Series, for example, right? Or let's say it's, maybe it's Bergen County Jazz Festival, something like that. So that would be announced on our site, and you would get an email the next day the day after it's announced. We would send that to you. It would be at the top of your email because it's something you're interested in. And then there is a Q&A period for every public bid where you can ask questions, and the government will 99 times out of 100 answer those questions. So it's not like a private sale where they might not show their cards as much. Generally speaking, they're going to show their cards, and they're going to answer your questions and answer most of your questions. Now, sometimes they might not answer this question. Sometimes bidders will ask, well, what is your budget for this product or service? And sometimes they just don't answer that, right? But by and large, during the bid process, they will publish in the RFP something that says, well, you can submit questions on this, just send them to this person in writing by this date. And then they answer those questions with enough time for you to decide, do you want to bid on that opportunity, or do you not like an answer to one or more questions, and maybe you'll pass.
I see. Okay, that's good. That's fair.
And it's interesting because a lot of times it's the only time that the government is a very opaque thing, whether it's federal, state, or local. But during the bid process, they're forced to answer questions. So it's a very good time to get good information during that bid process.
I see. All right. That's pretty good. Yeah, and then of course, being part of the or signing up, this bids, they come out, you mentioned already that they come automatically into our, emails. If Is there anything that we can search? Like, let's say one day I want to go in and see what else is there. Am I able to search, or just wait for your leads to come to our mailbox?
Great question. The answer is yes and yes.
Okay.
What we're trying to provide for users of our website is a passive experience. And I can't stress that enough. There are a lot of websites out there that do what we do, but there isn't another website that does curation and that considers it a white glove experience the way that we consider it, Christian. So when someone signs up on our site, it's not just like, oh, great, another user signed up. Real people actually study what that person did in the setup process to make sure that the person's setup is optimized for what they're looking for. Everybody who signs up gets a phone call. I even make some of the phone calls because I like talking to people, as you can probably tell. And so if a user is willing to engage with us, almost always their setup becomes better. Because here's two different ways you could use a site like ours. You could sign up for website A and spend a lot of time every day or every week looking for things, right? That's one way you could use a site like ours. People can do that on our site as well. But the ideal way of using a site like ours, and you can do that with our website, particularly in your use case, is it'll feel passive because the system knows what to send you. So anything new ends up in your email every day. In your use case, there are not hundreds of new opportunities every day. There are hundreds per year, but there might only be a few per week. And what that means is if your setup is good, you don't have to log in unless you see something you like on that email. And we can make sure that the right things end up in that email. We call it today's lead digest, and you get it 5 days a week.
Oh, nice. That's good. That's good.
So yeah, it's a very interesting business you're in. You'll see events on a website like ours. You'll see summer concert series. You'll see 4th of July celebration where they're not mentioning AV, but they need AV. And that's something that all of our users need to understand, or anybody who's considering a trial of the website or who's using maybe other sites, is that don't just think of what the government calls it. Try to think of what else might they call it, or what might they be buying where you are part of a bigger solution. So if the title of the solicitation is production services for the 4th of July celebration, well, you may not be the main vendor, but you could sell to the main vendor and be a sub.
Oh, good.
Yeah, great questions, Christian. Anything for follow-up now, or do you want to stay on with us and maybe come back if you have something that just, based on somebody else's question?
I'll stay and see if there anything else comes up.
Yeah, fantastic. Please do it. We're going to bring Brent on now. Let's bring in Brent. And folks, now would be the time to raise your hand if you have additional, or if you have questions you'd like to be brought in. Happy to answer any questions you have about business development and government contracting, federal, state, and local. So we have Benjamin with his hand raised as well. So Benjamin, will bring you on next. Brent, welcome to MyGovWatch Live. What do you do and where are you joining us from?
Thank you. Yes, I am in investment management, so portfolio management. I am in Costa Mesa, California, so Southern California, Orange County.
Fantastic. So I could ask you, do you like winter? And if so, what do you like about it? You might tell me you go skiing in Colorado, but what's the real answer?
I love it. I actually grew up in Wisconsin, so I do know winter. Um, but believe it or not, I mean, I know I've been out here many years. Like Jeff was saying earlier, it does get a little chilly here in the wintertime, believe it or not. Um, it's not the same as Wisconsin, but it's definitely there's more seasonality, I think, than people think, and I love it. Like,
Yeah, I think a lot of it doesn't a lot of it depend on the elevation you're at?
yes, but it's really weird. Like I can go to Wisconsin even now, and at this time of the year, 20 degrees feels like, oh my gosh, it's nice outside. And here, if it's 40, it's like chilling you to the bone. So
Yes.
I don't know how to explain it. It's not totally about temperature, in other words.
Sometimes the sun plays a role, sometimes the wind or lack of wind. I actually played a round of golf here in New Jersey last week. I don't know that I'll
Wow.
be doing it next week, but yeah, a lot of it depends on the sun and the wind. But
And
so,
state of
yeah,
mind. Yeah.
what's that?
And state of mind, right?
Yes. You have to be able to withstand it a little bit. So,
Yep.
welcome to the session. What brings you to us today?
Yeah, so our firm went independent last year, and it's been very, very successful transition away from kind of corporate America. And it occurred to me as, the investment process has really become very refined and differentiated. I sit on a board of a nonprofit that has a very large portfolio, and the financial advisor is a very large, nationally known institution. And I was thinking, gosh, we could deliver a better experience than this huge player can. And now I realize I'm not, for example, like Costa Mesa here or right next door, Irvine, I'm not going to get, the size of our firm, we're not going to get a contract to manage the city's finances, for example. But maybe along the lines of smaller cities, smaller contracts could at least be winnable for us. And I don't, I thought maybe I've never done an RFP before. I don't know exactly how it works. I've signed up for a couple of these sites, the annual subscriptions that have them. And so far, what I'm seeing is that most of the opportunities are really not winnable for our firm. They're those bigger mandates. Let's say I think they call them mandates usually in our business. And so wanted to see what you thought, if that's something you see. Do you see others like go in and compete, like a smaller kind of boutique firm, go after some of those kinds of portfolio management mandates?
Yeah. Okay. So you said a mouthful, Brent, and I think if we're talking in the same language here, I think I should say this. I did a search while you were talking, just on the word investment. Now there could be synonyms, or like what would be some other synonyms for what they would call it?
Portfolio, asset management. Although asset management's going to capture a lot of things that don't really involve, like stocks, bonds, those kinds of things that we do. It could involve real estate or other, city assets that are not investment assets.
How about
It's really,
fiduciary? Fiduciary, would that be something that would be?
sometimes, like a pension, would be a great fit for us. So like a small pension fund, like a huge pension fund, again, is going to be looking for a partner of a different scale than we are.
Okay. So I just found, using a limited search, let me just give you this number here. So using a search around investment, portfolio, asset, fiduciary, in conjunction with advisor, advisory, consultant, consulting, and there might be some other synonyms there, about 16 or 17 per month in the last year. And that's a limited search. And just in terms of the opportunity, and is it too large for a government agency to pick a firm of your size. Do you agree with me that state of California might not be winnable, but Escondido might?
Escondido's not that small. So, I would love it if it's possible to have maybe like kind of a one-on-one, even if it's not so long, with somebody there. I'm really intrigued. I mean, if smaller cities do put these out for bid, the other thing that may be the case is that these kinds of things are sort of seasonal too. We're here in January. And, like I said, I sit on a board. Things go a little dark around the holidays and shortly after. So maybe there's a lighter amount of these kinds of things out there now. And maybe some of them are going to come on in the not so distant future. I would love to just talk with somebody a little
absolutely.
bit more.
And we can certainly make time for that. I'm doing a 1 year look back, so it would take the seasonality out. So some smaller places: Fair Oaks Ranch, Texas; Lake County, California; Dothan, Alabama; the University of Guam, just a couple others. So Hartford.
Yeah, those would be interesting. Those would definitely be
So
interesting.
there's a trickle of those every week and every month. So certainly we can make some time offline. But I just want to like challenge you a little bit, and maybe do a little bit of a follow up back and forth here. Why do you have the perception that large will only do business with large in your business?
Well, okay, that's a good pushback. It would almost have to be a situation where, because I do see that there's some small business types of programs, and I don't understand how those designations work. Sometimes large has to give a certain portion to small. That's where I would see it possible. But I have looked at some of the RFPs that were put out on other platforms over the last year. And why I say that, what I say about that is, like, for example, they'll say needs to have 5 years of government contracting experience and have to have, elements of scale that a smaller boutique firm wouldn't really have. That's why I say
Yeah. It. Yeah. And a lot of times when that happens, Brent, it's because the government agency may not even necessarily prefer a large financial organization. They just don't want to read 30 proposals. They want to read 8.
Yeah.
So there might be some smaller companies that can still meet that. And so I would just not misread that. They're just trying to cut down on, and that's a very smart and legal and judicious way of reducing a reading load, is creating a threshold that you can't bid if you're below it. As long as it's reasonable, they're going to get 8 bids instead of 30. But yeah, we can certainly make some time, outside of this context, to look at some more examples for your business as well.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah. And any follow-up questions for now, or do you want to stay on the panel and maybe jump back in later?
I don't think I need to stay on, other than I definitely want to connect with you guys.
Yeah, fantastic, Brent. Appreciate your time, and thanks for joining MyGovWatch Live.
Thank you.
Yeah, we'll bring in Benjamin now, and it may be Dr. Gleason.
Oh, yes. Good morning.
Benjamin or Dr. Gleason?
Either one is fine. Benjamin's fine.
Okay. All right, Benjamin, welcome to MyGovWatch Live. What do you do and where are you joining us from?
So I'm in the North Texas area, but I'm actually from New Jersey. So I was hearing a lot of good accents from
lot of New Jersey connections in a very special episode of MyGovWatch Live. What part of New Jersey?
Sort of North Central Westfield.
Okay.
New Jersey.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I am in a very niche business. So we do customized data collection and reporting systems in the substance abuse prevention field. So our clients are state governments. So we currently have a few states around the US, including some large ones. And we set up their data reporting systems when they receive federal substance use prevention block grant funding. So it's very, very niche. We're a small boutique agency. We've been around for around 15 years. So One, similar to Brent, we are of a small scale. So I heard maybe Jeffrey talking earlier. Um, they're of a much larger scale. We are very, very small. And so thinking about how I could use your system to, we'd love to learn more about other similar state opportunities within our small substance use prevention field, as well as be able to provide custom data reporting systems in public health or in education or in
Yeah, fantastic. And as you were talking, I just sort of started putting some things into my search query. I put in data collection, data reporting, data repository. What else might they call it?
Yeah, that's usually a data reporting, data management. Um, yeah, those are the main ones, I think.
Yeah, okay. So let me just add data management here. So last year, about one per business day, about 20, 21 per month. But no, so obviously the first one on my list is pavement condition data collection. But at a minimum, you know that data collection is represented in the system. And then it's just a question of like which buyer would be the tell. So if it just says data collection, maybe at the county level, you might want to look into it. Is it only going to be county or city and state, or could it be something other than state of, city of, county of?
Again, right now we've just been focused on kind of state clients. But yeah, it could be city of, it could be county of, it could be we're not in the private sector. We are in higher education, so a consortium of universities in another state. So right now we're just sort of seeing what other possibilities exist because
And
we
is there an opportunity to branch out from the specific context of substance abuse, or do you need to stay in that lane?
No, that's just where we started. That's where we've been for the past 20 years. But yeah, it could be in public health, it could be in education, it could be something. I don't know if our sort of human-centered perspective would carry as much weight outside of those specific sectors, but it might. That's just sort of where we've been historically.
Well,
So,
I'm going to do this. I'm going to put my email address in the chat. And Benjamin, if you were to just shoot me an email, what
oh, that'd
I'll
be great.
do is I will just give you these examples in an email, and you
Okay,
can
that'd be
just,
great.
yeah, you can just eyeball the list because you know, if it really comes down to four search terms, unless there's a whole other thing they might call it, you know, you would just determine, is there enough meat on the bone, right? Because if you see 251 examples in a 1 year look back, you can probably expect that volume going forward.
Okay,
And
great.
yeah, and then it's just a matter of like, you know, what time do you have to devote to responding to the bid opportunities?
And so I heard you say that we also have a 4-week trial.
Yeah, so it's a default 2 week trial on the website. But if someone asks a question on MyGovWatch Live and then signs up in the same week, we just make that a 30-day trial. And so you do have to put in a credit card, but that card is not charged right away. It would be 30 days later because you've participated in today's event.
Okay, great, great. And would it be possible to set up a one-on-one with you as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Great.
Could you take a moment and grab my email address from the
Yep,
chat and
yep, I
shoot
got
me
it.
your details and we'll just set it up.
Okay, great.
Yeah. Yeah. So thank you for any additional follow-up questions, because folks, I got to tell you, we have this session, the MyGovWatch Live sessions. They can be anywhere from 45 minutes. Sometimes they've gone 2 hours, depending on what we're talking about and how many people have questions. I never force the event to go an hour and a half, which is what we schedule for. But if the event dies of natural causes, that's fine too. So right now we're looking for other people and other questions to raise their hands. And so Patrick looks like he has a question. Let's bring Patrick on. And so Benjamin, stay with us if you'd like. If you want to go on mute, you can do that and just pop right back in if you have a follow-up question. All right, thank you. Let's bring on Patrick. By the way, that's a great shirt. And bring us Pat. And there is Patrick.
Hey, how are you?
Welcome, Patrick. Welcome to MyGovWatch Live. What do you do and where are you joining us from?
So I'm a kind of data mercenary, do anything with data that the people need done. So I have clients that all I do is manage Salesforce systems and things like that for them, and other contracts where I'm moving data from one place to another and different languages, mostly Python, but anything you need data-wise. I handle data engineering, science, management, things like that. I'm a small one-person firm, really looking to expand my business this year. And similar to some of the other questions that people have asked, uh, you mentioned like subcontracting a couple times and dealing with like smaller firms. And I know like I've looked at some contracts that like I can do everything on it, but they need like 24/7 support. And I am not somebody who can provide 24/7 support. I'm a one-man crew. So was curious what kind of advice you had for th- that that problem of being smaller, and how do you find opportunities as a subcontractor through your site?
Yeah, great question. And the really good news is this: because you are in the tech space, the government has the same challenges that the private sector has. They don't have the luxury of a one-stop shop all the time and just dealing with a single vendor to meet their needs. So, because it's hard to get resources to get things done in the tech space, they are perfectly happy to consider prime sub relationships where they're giving the main contract to one company and allowing them to subcontract things related to data. So I just did a different search on our site. I just did data and I got over, 3,000 results. But then I saw a lot of them were data center remodel. So I took out the word center. I made that a negative. So we're at over 2,000 results in the last year that just say data, that just mention data. Okay. So that's 2,000 over 12 months. So, in an average month, you're going to see a couple hundred, you're going to see close to 170 opportunities per month that just say data. And I would think it's a problem that you would reverse engineer, Patrick. And here's what I mean by that. You would not devote your entire week to using our website, correct?
No, I don't have time.
You don't have time. However, what you could do, because there's over 170 or over 160 per month in the last year, you could say, you know what, I want to be at the regional price point, $60 a month. I'm just going to pick 6 states. I'll pick 6 very populous states. And for $60 a month, you could just see stuff coming in every day and every week. And it might not be 160 a month, but it might be 50 or 60 a month. And that's still more than you can handle. So you could have a continuous feed of leads and then selectively decide here and there, I'm going to spend 4 hours on this. I'm going to spend 8 hours on this. And I think a lot of what you would be doing is finding out who the prime contractors are and then making sure that they're aware that you're available as a consultant, as a sub-consultant, if they win the contract. I'm sure a lot of them wouldn't have a data guru who is able to fully meet the need. And again, these are just projects that specifically mention data. So there would be a lot more projects than that where they're not mentioning a need for a data guru like you, but it's implied by the work, right? Okay. So I think you would feel like you're drinking from the fire hose a little bit with the number of tech projects. And it would just be a matter of deciding how many hours per month you want to spend. And most of that time would be figuring out who are the bidders and making sure they're aware of your capabilities.
Okay. And so how would is it just like looking up the company and like doing research and cold calling? Is there like a database of bidders or anything like that you have?
It's all over the board, and it's not necessarily a function of us. It's a function of what data is the government collecting? Because again, we're aggregating the data and then pushing it out to you. Right. And then some government, here's different experiences you might have. So this would be like the best experience in your use case. You click on something on our website, we show you where we got it from, we push you over to a platform that the government agency uses, and you see a list of interested parties with names, phone numbers, and email addresses. That would be one use case. So where you would just email or call some people and say, hey, here's my resume. I'm not looking for a job, but if you want to use me to serve this need, I just want you to know that I'm available. And if you did that over a period of months and years, I think things would come from that because it's a very specialized skill you have, right?
Right.
So
Okay.
in other use cases, the list of interested parties might not be visible where the bid is hosted, but there might be an email that comes to you if you express an interest in it. And they might say, hey, we're having a Zoom about this project. And then you join the Zoom and all of the names of the people are in the Zoom. Or maybe they send out an email and all of the email addresses are in that email that came out of the meeting. Because you attended the meeting, now you heard all the names and email addresses. That would be a second way. And then the third way would be if you did an open records request through us, we could get you the names of all the interested parties for a project so you can find out who won if you were interested in it. And then we would get you the names of the bidders and the winner, and then you could go pitch all of them after the fact. So those are three different ways that you could get to that.
Okay. That's super helpful.
Yeah, and I think it would just be a function of how much time you would like to spend, because it wouldn't be all of your time, but you could just say, I'm going to spend 5 or 10% of my time on this.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah.
So
that makes perfect sense.
do you like winter? And if so, what do you like about it?
I do like winter. But in relation with other seasons, like I don't want like a permanent winter. So like without summer, winter is no fun. I'm in Arizona, so our winters are pretty mild relative to other people. So like I go outside, 60 degrees is cold to me. But I've lived in New York and Philly and had some cold winters there. Um, yeah, I don't know. It's just like I like it because it's different. That's all.
Where did you live in Philly?
Center City,
Okay.
Spruce and Broad.
Yeah, so I'm born and raised over 30 years in Philly, and I only live in New Jersey now because my wife said, when I asked the question, she said, yes, but, and she had a strong preference for being on this side of the Delaware River. And so here we are.
Yeah. Yeah.
So any follow-up questions, Patrick?
Um, I guess like timeline wise, because I'm pretty new at this, like do you get feedback on like how many bids you got to fill out to like start making some traction and things like that?
So if you are a direct bidder, you have to consider government contracting a slow burn.
Okay.
And if you're a sole proprietor, I take it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So if I were a sole proprietor, I would be doing one of two things or two things together at the same time. I would either A, be using our site to figure out who the bidders are and marketing to them as a subcontractor. That would be one strategy. B, I would just draw a circle of 100 miles around my house and identify all of the government agencies and all of the people who would hire you as a consultant. And I want to tell you the most important thing I'm going to tell you on this session is that every state has something called the purchasing threshold. And the purchasing threshold means an amount of money they can spend below which they do not have to advertise a project out for bid. So once it gets above like $30,000 in New Jersey, they have to list it publicly. Now we hear about it. Now everybody hears about it. However, if you were to develop some knowledge of who the decision makers were within 100 miles of your office, you could then consult with them on what kinds of data projects they might have. And you would go out of your way to understand what is the state of Arizona's purchasing threshold so they don't have to advertise it. And then sometimes at the county or municipal level, they can have a threshold that's lower than the state level. So you might know that I'm making this number up, by the way. I didn't do this first. You might say Arizona's $50,000. And what county do you live in?
Pima.
So you might find out that Pima County has a threshold within the county of $35,000. You would go out of your way to propose a project that's under $35,000 because then they can just do it.
Okay.
So that would be a separate strategy, or you could do both A and B.
Right. Okay. Kind of, you reminded me of something, and again, because I'm new to this, before I signed up for your site, I was going to like every state's individual site at once, trying to follow along. I noticed that there were jobs that did not have any bids on them at all. This were like public, but like the job expired. So, for example, Arizona had one that it was their parks. I think it was the state parks department, whatever that is. wanted a migration of their database of all their trails from an old system to a new system. It received 0 bids last year, or at least that's what it looked like to me on the site. I could be wrong. And it expired last February. So it's like more than a year old, but that's a job that I would be able to do and do well. Um, should I follow up on that? Like, what are your thoughts on something like that?
Absolutely. And that happens all the time. So, the assumption is there's some common assumptions that are incorrect about government contracting, especially at the lower levels, at the county and the municipal level. And that is that they already know who they want before the bid even comes out. That's not true. That does happen, but that's the minority of cases. And the other assumption is, well, everybody and their brother is going to bid on it. But we see over and over again that there's not always a bidder, especially in the tech space, because there's just such a strain on tech resources generally in the economy. The public sector is no different. When private companies can find work without going through the rigmarole of a bid process, only a small percentage of companies are willing to submit bids to get tech work when you can get tech work just by being out there, right? So, yes, it does happen all the time. And I absolutely would follow up. And I would start by asking, well, like, what was your budget for this project? And they might just tell you. And you might say, well, there might be a way for you to do it below the state purchasing threshold, and maybe they don't have to re-advertise it. But I brought on a friend and colleague and user of the website. Rick Duggan is with us now. And Rick, thank you for joining us. Rick is also in your industry, Patrick. So I just want to say hello to Rick and see. Now, Rick, you may have a question, but you might have jumped on for other reasons. So good morning. I know you're on the West Coast. How you doing?
Yeah, good. Good morning, Nick. Good to chat with you. Patrick, good to see you as well. I kind of jumped on to follow up on Patrick's question. This may be a little bit hard for you to answer, Nick. And I guess for the rest of everybody, I'm in Las Vegas. We have no winter to speak of. I think it's 50 degrees right now. I'm so sorry to anyone who is in a winter place that doesn't like winter.
And just for the benefit of anyone listening, just tell everyone what you do.
I do software development. We are a small firm, Patrick, slightly larger than a one-person shop, but certainly not 50 or 100 people. So I totally respect your journey and have been on it. My follow-on question to what Patrick was asking about was, I guess, and maybe this is an assumption in my head, that, okay, so there's a bid out there and neither myself nor Patrick are able to meet all the requirements, so we want to be a sub. And so, like you said, you look for whoever is bidding, but you don't know who has bid on a particular opportunity until the end and it's been awarded, or you don't I should say you don't necessarily know. So in my mind, I always thought, well, if they've bid already, they've got sort of a team in place. Are you saying that there are actually a lot of opportunities for folks like myself and Patrick to kind of get in? Someone's been awarded a bid who's a prime and they're still sort of trying to staff the project. Does that question make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's a great question. And the answer is yes, I do think there's a lot of opportunity, because I think there are a lot of companies that have currency around their brand and their references. And just because you're a larger, let's say a medium-sized software company, you might have 30 references, right? Brand name, brands in the economy, large government agencies that you've done projects with, and you're trading on those references and you're winning deals based on that. But that doesn't mean that your best person who knows, XYZ language didn't just leave, right? So there's all kinds of room for partnerships, prime sub relationships, joint venturing. And, I think someone in the tech space in particular, there's an opportunity to just generally network among companies that are bidding. And you could pretty quickly figure out, like, this one never subcontracts. This one's always looking for partners, and everywhere in between. And I do think there's a lot of opportunity for that. But, something I'll say it again, because there's so much opportunity in tech in the private sector, it's sort of the kind of thing where you just have to reverse engineer it and say, I'm going to spend X amount of hours on this per month and, just see what comes out of it.
Right. Yeah. And then Patrick, just to follow up on what Nick mentioned earlier about the threshold, that's the government work that we have done. We have found work that is under a certain threshold, and we have been awarded that through sort of small business programs and such. So that is I can definitely confirm, an effective strategy. It definitely requires the usual kind of elbow grease, walking around, knowing people, finding out about these things, because by definition, they're not advertised, but it is a good way to get your foot in the door, so to speak. So yeah,
Okay.
thanks for that. I appreciate it.
That's really
Yeah,
good.
yeah. Thanks for jumping on, Rick. Patrick or Rick, additional follow-up questions? Sometimes it's just a networking thing. We have had people end up, trading information on these sessions. And, I'm not sure if you guys have reason to network, but it certainly has happened that people who attend these sessions end up communicating or doing business together with one another later.
I've already reached out to 2 people on LinkedIn.
That's great. I'm happy to hear that. I'm happy to hear that. Any follow-up questions, Patrick?
I do not have any at this time.
All right. So we're just at an hour. Let's just see if anyone else would like to raise their hand and see if there are any additional questions. I certainly have the full 90 minutes blocked off, another half hour. But if things sort of peter out here, that's fine as well. Going once, going twice. I see no hands raised. Benjamin, Dr. Gleason. Hey, Benjamin, welcome back.
Oh, hey. Yeah, so what I heard from a few of us who are on the smaller side, just wondering in the last few minutes if you can share any success stories of sort of smaller businesses who have had good successes using your software in order to either network or make connections or win successful bids or become a subcontractor with other larger firms, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, so people are not required to report to us on if they are winning subcontracts, and they're not actually required to report to us if they're winning prime contracts. But what we did do last year, and what I can share with you, I'm gonna look it up. Let me just get it, and I'll put it into the chat. Let me find it here. Hold on. We did ask people if they had an interest in providing us with testimonials, and we got a bunch of testimonials back in video form. And so let me find the playlist, and let's make sure that they don't start playing here. And I'm going to give you the extended version. Let me just turn this on mute here before I click on it.
I used to say, if I hear AI,
no, I don't want to hear you. I'm going to put in the chat an extended, I think it's a 7-minute long video just of users, including some people in tech who have used our site for the purposes that we're talking about. So I'm going to put that in the chat. And I would just encourage you to spend 7 minutes watching that video, Benjamin. And those are all real users of the site. Now, it is sort of in ad form, but these are real people who are saying that they've used our site for a while. So let's just see if we have other questions here. Any follow-up questions to that question, Benjamin?
No, I will definitely watch the video. Thank you.
All right, folks, I really appreciate your involvement and your participation in MyGovWatch Live. And just as a reminder, anyone who hasn't been using the site, if you haven't used the site before, if you participated in this session at all and you sign up this week, let's call it end of the day Friday, then your 14-day trial becomes a 30-day trial just for doing both in the same week. So that'll do it, folks, for today's edition of MyGovWatch Live. Remember, if you're not already a subscriber, start your free 14-day trial today. If you want to win more government contracts for less, you'll be glad you did. Thanks, folks.